How do you guys feel about charging differently or charging the same relative to who the actual client is?
If you don't charge 20,000 euros, he will not book the wedding.
It's quite a nice budget.
Yeah. And he charged 20,000 euros and they booked him immediately. There was no questions asked.
I was on a long form TV series with I mean, it was a big learning curve, but I literally had my camera. I was like, cool, like, let's set up a quick setup outside. I'm going to get a nice portrait. She was like, no, leave. And she pointed right at me. She was like, you're in my camera line, get out.
There was a girl who didn't know what a hosepipe was. And I was like, oh my God, she got into BA in humanities. I can do this. You know, I'm great, you know.
I think, you know, sometimes breaking all the rules is where you find gold.
But people don't buy your product or service, they're buying you. And if they can buy into you as a person and you as a brand, then everything else is a bonus.
Ladies and gentlemen, animals and aliens, welcome back to my podcast show. I'm very excited to do, I think this is the 6th kind of creator group session today, and I feel like the guest list is just getting better and better with each take. So I'm very excited today to have Matthew Berti, aka Maddie Snaps, joining, Aidan Tobias from the studio, and Gustav Franke-Matthecka. Is that how I pronounce it?
That was pretty good, man.
Yes, nailed it. So guys, thank you so much for joining me, and I'm really stoked to have you in the space.
Thanks for having us.
Stoked to be here. Should we speak into the mic?
Oh shit, sorry.
Or less in the mic. As long as the mic is like vaguely in your vicinity, then it's fine. You guys know Forster van Sale?
Yes.
Yeah, so we recorded a session there with him, and obviously everyone knows everything, and all of a sudden his hands started going like all over the place halfway through.
This is exactly why I sat there, because Forster told me about this. He was like talking, and then he was like, "Oh yeah."
Wait! You need to actually get the mic.
That's why I'm holding it so close to my body.
I just recorded an hour-long podcast. Luckily, it was just audio, and Shan, the poor woman, was too quiet. She was like quite reserved, and she was speaking like super softly into the mic, like this. And we had a setting on we used the Rodecaster, and we had a setting, what was it now? I forget the exact setting, but it basically like, we couldn't pick her up. So we had to re-record the whole thing, the whole hour thing, because when we played it back, it was like
which mics did you have running into the Rodecaster?
So it was the Rodecaster Pro with the Rode podcasting mics, but there was one little setting. I'll find out what it is and I'll message you. But
luckily, you've just got your the new Rode Wireless Pro.
So the second,
those things.
The second. That's funny you say that, because
the
second time we shot, I actually lapelled her and had the Rode with the podcast mics going. Just a back.
The mic's just like in her face.
Yeah, man, she was just like super soft, and I think the mic was like just a bit too far away from her. So luckily, it was just an hour show with no. It was just the audio, but. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that reminds me. I have now.
Are we all on here? All the mics on.
Testing.
If one of the mics just cuts out, just be like, Matt is an absolute idiot. You should trust him again.
It's fine. I don't have anything good to say anyway.
We can share.
There we go.
No, not you, me, Matt. You, I know, are a genius. I doubt myself, but anyway. Aiden, you were saying literally 30 seconds ago if everyone should give a little intro, so that's a little segue now into please introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about.
I mean, we started this way. I think we need to go that way.
Gustav, right.
Oh, we're starting here?
Yeah.
Okay, when we're looking at you. Okay, so my name is Gustav, and I've been I started my own business about 5 years ago, shooting mostly weddings, kind of that's become the bread and butter. And I find weddings are stuck with them because they're very rewarding, and it's not just like a company giving you like a green tick, there you go, job done. It's like you're getting that reward, or I was getting that reward from couples, and them saying, we're going to watch us for the rest of our lives, that kind of thing. So it's very rewarding, the work itself. It allowed me to travel, which I love, and lately been doing a lot more kind of wildlife and safari shoots as well. That's actually where I was initially working in the kind of corporate field. But I couldn't see myself working in an office again. Nobody could offer me enough money.
I'm going to come back and quiz you about all of that in literally like 30 seconds, but I'm just going to get everyone get through their intros first so we know who's here.
So I'm Aidan Tobias, freelance photographer, producer, DIT, lighting guy, and studio manager. I own the studio Cape Town. We're based in Woodstock, Daylight Studio, and we've got another 2 studios on the ground floor that I help manage, drive-in space, and they are all sound treated, so we do a lot of like audio work. A bit of a jack of all trades.
the camera guy to know in Cape Town.
Guys always know me from, I used to do all the parties back in the day. But a bit older now, so not as many parties. I mean, I still love to go to some of them.
Fair enough.
That's me in a nutshell.
I think there's not a single creator in Cape Town that does not know who you are.
Yeah.
No, you're like the middle connecting man. It's just like you're at least one connection away from pretty much every creative in Cape Town.
It is funny being on the podcast and knowing both of our guests. Yeah. I think also, with the spaces, like being in the event game for so long, I had such a huge network. And then now also having the studio, it's such a huge network because every day is something new
Kind of
and
new
someone new.
creatives just walking in.
So I'm meeting people all the time. And Cape Town is small. So yeah, and honestly, like we live on word of mouth marketing, and guys are always speaking about us, which is great because new business is coming in all the time. And that's what we need here in Cape Town because, guys got to have each other's backs, especially now, man, July in this cold weather.
Deep on us.
We need heating. We need to eat. So
Okay, so before we get all deep and romantic with each other, Mr. Snaps, aka Matthew Berti.
Well, I'm also in the same boat of jack of all trades, master of none.
And you're also in the same boat of pretty much being someone that everyone in Cape Town knows.
Somehow, some way, I have no clue why. I kind of say master of none, but master of two. One is really bad comedic timing, and the other one is taking photos because I don't know. It's just one of those things that's come naturally my whole life. And I love it. And, it's just, we'll get into the sob stories soon, but I mean, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And, falling into a creative field and then meeting all the guys. And, it's supposed to be like a day where everyone's working, it's cold outside, and we're here and doing podcasts and chilling. And
I think also just you being one of the nicest human beings is man, that's why
you make me blush. These lights getting
this is why we got used to sitting next to each other. There's gonna be a subtle hand holding.
We should have brought a makeup on. It's a little bit of blush on the face.
Exactly. Just to stop me from blushing, right? Make me extra red.
Well, to all three of you, I'm so grateful that you all came to join me here today. So thank you very much, and I look forward to having whatever kind of nonsense discussion I try to prompt here, but rely on your expertise for the most part.
Love it.
Gustav, you were I was WhatsApping you, and we were discussing kind of interesting things that might be worth sort of bringing up, and you brought something up which was really impressive to me because I'm quite OCD in that I like keeping track of a lot of things. One of the things I track is how many movies I've watched. And I'm quite proud because I've got a list that's just bordering on 600, which if you add up like time-wise, it's like a month straight, 24-hour days of just watching movies. And then you promptly told me that yours is over 1,000.
Yeah. That was when I was like 24, 25 that I hit 1,000, somewhere there.
So you well over that.
Yeah. And many of those rewatched as well. I mean, it's something I'm very proud of. That. It's a lot of screen time, it's obviously, but it's a funny thing to have in the back pocket.
You being kind of now a videographer, filmmaker, I imagine that part of your sort of inspiration into diving into your creative journey was hopefully some of the stuff that you drew from watching films. Was that kind of the case, or is that just a nice stat that you like to throw out randomly in the WhatsApp chats?
No, 100% say no. It's definitely relates to the inspiration and kind of creativity on the day of like a wedding or a lifestyle shoot or travel shoot or, even capturing wildlife. I mean, like a small example was I recently I went to Botswana. It was an absolute dream, and there was this lion walking on this tree trunk, and all I could picture and vision was Simba when there's that montage of him growing from the little cub to the teenage cub and the music, and it's like we have the visual, and then I had the visual, and then I kind of framed it, and I wasn't framing it exactly, and I didn't have the exact thing, but it was close enough, and then I put a little thing on Instagram, and it just feels so nostalgic. But yeah, so I have the vision. I have the scenes from movies that often like kind of project what I'm shooting. So yeah.
We did I didn't actually shoot it, fortunately, but I had to assist with some of the editing, and some of it there was a horse dissection thing.
I heard about these.
The only thing I could think
some
about,
of my lights were on that job.
Yeah, the only thing I could think about there was that scene from The Godfather where that horse head is in the bed there. But I like that your movie references are a little bit more subtle and good feelings.
That editing must have been tough, man.
Luckily, I wasn't 100% involved there. I just got to to look over the shoulder on a few of those shots, but
Sure.
quite an intense subject matter. Not to bring that in straight away.
Yeah.
But that's so amazing that's kind of part of the basis, and the way you sort of have a lens on the creative things that you sort of do there. Where did weddings kind of become the main, I'm going to say, subject of choice for you in everything? Because I know you said you started with a whole lot of wildlife sort of things, and then you've now pretty much chiseled out a very nice niche for yourself as a very established sort of wedding videographer, filmmaker.
Yeah, I mean, I was, long story short, I mean, I came back from Europe and I tried to become a Kontiki tour guide. So I was, I don't know if you guys know Kontiki, but it's like, and it's, it didn't work out. I was a month in and I was kind of told politely, we don't think you're right for this job. I'd like...
What does it take to be a good Kontiki?
Can I tell you, it takes a lot more than you would realize. I thought it was just like, I love travel and I like telling people stories. No, you need to be super on it, admin-wise. You got to be the people's nurse. You've got to be their like psychologist. You've got to be so many things. And it was 2.5 months of training going through Europe, and I've made it to Rome from London. So you're kind of like tracking your way down, and then I was kind of kicked off. I was like the 5th person that didn't make it through. So anyway, so that was
not a bad test right now.
Well done for lasting as long as you did, because it sounds like it was intense.
Dude, it was rough. It's literally like basic training in the army. Like you're getting 3 hours sleep a night. It is brutal. Like
that kills me.
Yeah, no, the lack of sleep I can't do. Yeah, it just destroys me.
I don't get at least 5 to 6 hours a night.
Yeah, I need 7, 8, at least. So it was yeah, dude. So I came back like in debt now. Like I was like 70 to 100k in debt. I borrowed money from my parents to do this project, and I was kind of very depressed. I was like 27 now, and I said to my dad, can I swear? Like I was like, fuck filmmaking. I was just so over like I was so over like just having worked in corporates, and I only saw like video as working in an office and couldn't see what I could do. And my dad's like, let me just buy you a camera and a lens and an audio recorder if you need that, and maybe just shoot a wedding, just see what happens. For some reason, he thought a wedding would be a good idea. My dad doesn't, he's not a photographer or anything. He just thought, hey, why don't you do that? And it took me like 3 months to get the confidence to kind of, offer my services, messaged or emailed like 10 planners. Only one came back. And she said, okay, the catch is you're going to have to do it for free. We don't care about your past filming experience. You have to do a wedding to kind of charge for weddings. So, shot one, and then it's just, it went super well. The couple's happy. And then, just kind of, just steamrolled. I mean, it started snowballing, and, charged like the, minimal amounts to book weddings in the beginning. And then eventually you can kind of charge your own prices. Like I know a lot of companies are like, oh, you can only charge 10% per annum, but it's like I just broke all those rules and it's like doubling as much as I wanted to, because nobody knows your previous prices, and it's like
I like how you said this is not on camera, but when we were chatting earlier, you get to a point where you can actually just take on the quality and you don't have to do the quantity, because that's the thing. I feel like the quantity when you're in the trenches and you're younger, and I had the same thing when I was doing events, I would say yes to everything because I just wanted to, pay rent and survive. And like back then, I think I was making, it was ridiculous. I was making $500 a night. My first paycheck was $500 for a full night of shooting. Like I think it was like 6 or 8 hours.
Now there's some days
on your
like
feet.
Fuel won't even be covered by
Literally.
Especially
No, you're still gonna edit, man. Yes. Like I mean, this was, I'm showing my age of this is like 10 years ago, but. Yeah, man, times have changed. Nowadays, you go and buy one bag of groceries for $500. So
but it's also interesting because people technically took their own risk on employing you into a field in which you didn't really. I don't know about you, but you don't know much about.
Yeah.
You kind of just start, and you just like someone just goes, "Yeah, here you go." Come and shoot for free, and you're just like, oh, okay, and you shoot, and then suddenly it starts making sense to you, and suddenly you realize, well, I'm actually kind of good at this.
I think I was blessed to kind of know what I love very early in life, and I look at my brother and I look at some of my mates, and they still don't know what they want to do with their, like what they want to do. So that was, for me, I was very lucky. It takes some time for others, until you find your niche and find something that you both gives you creative outlet and you enjoy, and then it is good on the back end.
That's the biggest one, man. Like we're like figuring that out as well. Otherwise, you can lose the steam as well. You're like
definitely.
Sure.
How different was obviously the wedding planner that you mentioned that you approached first? You said no, you need to have an actual wedding that you've sort of shot. I think that's very wise advice. I'm looking back to the first wedding that I actually shot, which was a friend of a friend. I was just like, I just got a camera. It'll be cool to shoot a wedding. And I shot this wedding completely for free for them, just kind of, capturing what it is. And then I didn't realize, because I'd never attended a wedding either, like as a guest. So, and I didn't know what a couple shoot was. I didn't know that was a thing. So I missed the couple shoot because I just forgot to go along with it. With the
You're sitting there eating some salami sticks on the side.
I was like, oh, cool. Everyone's gone to Cannon Faces.
The other photographer's like, where are you? Just like, what?
What's going on?
100%. So I think that's a very sage advice to have to actually understand what actually goes into sort of a wedding sort of production. I've always sort of felt that like traditionally on the wedding side, like photos have always kind of been a little bit of a bigger deal than videography, but I feel like that's maybe a trend that's slowly starting to sort of shift. Is that something you've sort of experienced as well, and how are you finding sort of the budget relations between the photo and the video side of things in the last sort of 5 to 10 years?
No, there's at least the 4 questions baked into that, and I love all of them. That's amazing. I love that question, and I've been like, me and a lot of guys in the industry talk about this a lot, but the first one was relating to like photo versus video and the shift. Like I think a lot of people that are, and naturally and not educated about wedding filmmaking, they imagine it's plonk down a tripod, hit record, there's your ceremony, there's your reception.
Because I think that's what it kind of used to be.
Yeah,
like,
that's what it was. Yeah,
15 years plus
it was
ago.
like a documentary of the day.
Exactly. Yeah. Now you've got like handheld, you've got moving cameras with a gimbal, you've got drones. We previously you'd have to have a helicopter at a wedding to get those shots. It's like not and so it's changed a lot, and there's definitely a shift. What I have heard from planners is that 50% of couples book wedding videographers. So everyone books a photographer, like guaranteed, but 50% book video. And one of the biggest regrets planners and photographers have told me, and couples have said, is not booking a videographer. So there's a lot more. You can really feel emotion and movement, and speeches, and tears falling. Not just the single drop. And those are powerful. I love photography. I'm not bashing it, but there's a place for video that I think people only realize maybe afterwards. They're like, we should have got that. And there was another question in there that I forgot now. What was the other one?
Basically, if you've seen the sort of pricing between the two.
Pricing. So this is one of the biggest debates, and so funny. Yeah, so I've had 2, and obviously I can't mention who they are. I've had a couple. Couples reach out and say that we value the video more than the photo. And then that makes you also think about like, what are people paying for? You're generally paying for what you value, but they didn't know beforehand what they valued more. And it's like, because the status quo is pay top dollar for photographer, because that's what you do. It's like, that kind of is starting to shift, and that's why it hasn't shifted fully yet. So people will shoot weddings for 5,000 Rand and shoot, highlights video and everything, but it's totally undervaluing yourself. Yeah. And photographers, I think they should definitely be charging what they're charging, but video can definitely start upping it. So if everyone across the board just said, hey, let's just add 10, 20K, it would just shift the whole thing. And it's realizing that there's so much value to video in its own right. But there's a shift for sure, 100%. Definitely. Yeah.
I'm gonna shift from the video centered side of things to the photo side of the couch, because I think you two are both more in the photo side of the world than not. Matt, I actually got a Facebook reminder of it today, but we ran into each other again because we were at high school together in Joburg, and then ran into in 2017 at Jess 21st, I think it was.
Yes, yeah.
And I remember seeing you there with a camera because you were the photographer, and I was so fascinated with that whole thing, and you gave me a bit of a background story into how the camera sort of came into your hands post high school. I'd love to sort of get a bit of a refresher in that, and how your sort of journey into creation.
Oh God, how long is this podcast going to be? Well, I'll speed it up. It's a great question. I think for me, like, I'm not the brightest spark in the circuit board. Never have been. I think for a lot of people going into creative fields and stuff, it's just kind of, sometimes you don't need to be born with it. Sometimes you just fall into it. And for me, it was, I failed grade 8 and 9. I came from a remedial background with people with like multiple like social disorders, mental disorders. Always felt like I didn't really belong. But at the same time, I knew that I couldn't really focus on things that were around me, like in front of me. It was always around me. It was always out the window, trying to figure out like, oh, you know, how's that chair built in front of me? You know, how does that stand work? You know, and went into high school and I wasn't built for school. So fortunately enough, the school we went to, my brothers attended, my dad attended. So through the family, they kind of pushed me through grade 8 and 9, even though I was like getting like 30%. And I grew up with like a lot of kind of drugs, a lot of not doing the drugs, like more like Ritalin, Concerta, and every experimental thing to make me concentrate. My parents had my best interest at heart, like trying to get me into the space where I was kind of a normal, you know, receptive kid, you know, to the education system, and it ended up doing more damage than good. Until I kind of got off it, and I'm just saying for me that's just how it worked. And kind of post school, my dad, fortunately enough, has his own company, and he works in a factory and whatever. And he was like, "You're going to come work for me because you're probably not going to get into any degree." And I kind of sat there and I was like, "Okay, I'm going to try get into, you know, like whatever I can." And the funniest part of the story goes is I tried to get into a BA in humanities at Stellenbosch. I had to go to Stellenbosch. I love the Western Cape. You know, I love the mountains and stuff. That was the allure. But I tried to get into a BA in humanities because there was a girl who didn't know what a hosepipe was, and she had got into a BA in humanities. She was like,
What do you mean didn't know what a hosepipe was?
Like she was like, "What's this thing in the garden? The screen,
God.
The wild snake.
Yeah. Well, it looks weird." And I was like, "Oh my God, she got into a BA in humanities. I can do this. You know, I'm great. You know." And I applied, and it was the best decision I never made for myself because Stelli's rejected me, and I was like, "Well, it's 1 week away from university starting, so what do I do?" And I kind of came across YouTube and the days of like Ben Brown and Dan Mace and like filmmakers who were in South Africa and the Western Cape, kind of just going on random missions during the week and like kind of just living a life. And I was like, oh, you know, photography could be a thing, you know. My dad had a few cameras around and stuff growing up, but I was just kind of like, oh, you know, this could be fun. So applied for a 1-year degree in Stellenbosch Academy of Design, and then I did it. I passed my first year shooting on auto setting, the A+ setting on my camera, and I taped my flash down because it would pop my flash up. So it would do all the settings, and then it would just like, my flash was like teetering on the edge of like coming up.
That's wild.
And I passed, and everyone asked like, you know, why did you shoot this aperture? Why did you shoot this shutter speed? And I had no clue what was going on. And then eventually, that was during the times you saw me, and it's weird because your perspective of me, it was like, oh, I'm so interested, and like you were like showing me how to work the cameras and stuff.
Because you were taking a few photos, and I've never seen photos taken like that. This was before I'd even had any interest in a camera whatsoever.
And there's me going, I don't even know. But
having a jaw with everyone, and then you look at the back of the screen, and it looks amazing.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know, the benefits of flash and stuff. You can.
I think, you know, sometimes breaking all the rules is where you find like gold. In a
100%.
way. And I feel like you did that. And you just went for it. And like, props to you, man. I actually, like, I relate to a lot of what happened to you. I think being a creative is very hard. Like, I'm also very ADD and very, you know, I'm like, what's next? Yeah. Where are we going? What are we shooting? Yeah. What are we doing? Yeah. I'm always on the move. Like, I get my 10,000 steps every day.
Before the morning's even over.
I can relate to you. I relate to it. And I gravitate to the same with stills. I just wanted to document it and still have this obsession with documentation and documenting what is happening, what's going on. And that's why I think I started in parties, because I wanted to be like, yo, this is what... I wanted to remember what happened and show people. And I used to get such a kick from, you know, sharing photos and guys like, oh my God, I love this.
Yo, can I get your number and your Instagram, you know?
But it's wild. Like, you know, having the studios, seeing how many professional, whether it be in stills or video, are on auto settings and shooting, and they don't know the fundamentals, especially now with mirrorless and being able to eyeball your exposures. they don't know what aperture is. They don't know what shutter speed is. They don't know what ISO is. They don't know what the fundamentals of exposure are.
Yeah.
They are doing what they know, and they're doing what they know works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also with that is like, I think when you say professionals, everyone wants to claim they're a professional nowadays. And I think for me, when a professional is really dictated by how many experiences you've had shooting, because you can be at a wedding and suddenly the bride's dress gets scrunched on something and snaps off. And then you're suddenly like in panic mode because she's walking down the aisle and everyone's trying to do stuff. And you're like,
I hope the wedding, the dress is never snapped off entirely.
or like it rains, and suddenly you're like, what do we do? And then it's also like, when it rains, it pours. So go out there and get the most epic photos that you can.
Yeah.
But whereas a lot of people would be reserved to actually doing, like sitting inside and waiting the rain out, some people would be the ones to go out in the rain and take the photos.
I think that going back to that whole thing of like, what is the definition of a professional? And my definition of being a professional is it is your career. You're doing it for a living and you are making enough money to survive. That is my definition of being a professional at something. And I think it doesn't matter the way that you get there. If it works for you, then fuck it. Like, yeah.
100%.
And there's that whole thing of imposter syndrome. I think everyone still has that. I still have that all the time. It's like, am I good enough? Me too. But I think that comes with being a creative and having that kind of brain that more. It's you're not as analytical. You're not as like right brain. We live in a different world, and there's nothing wrong with that. If it gets the job done at the end of the day, it gets the job done at the end of the day. And I find a lot of the time, those types of people are way better at actually creating art than the others, because we see the world differently.
100%. And that's also like, it's a good thing to take from you and from me. It's the experiences that make you a professional, but it's also your ability to find what works for you and to continue on with that and to grow from that into becoming even better as a professional.
Yeah. I think you do need to get a good balance though.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm saying that with like 10 emails in my account right now.
30, 70.
I have a very funny saying my brother once, because my brother is very similar to me, and we were like, I even forget what we were chatting about. My mates know what we were chatting about, and we were like, Justin, like, what percentage do you rate? And he's like, 70-40.
Yeah. Where's the other 10%
70-40, another 10 comes from somewhere.
Yeah. It's 110% right there.
You gotta love it.
Aiden, I'd love to sort of ask a bit more about sort of the journey to sort of the studio. And I was listening to a podcast I found that you were on with, I think it was Kai Creative.
Yes, the Kai guys.
Yeah, back a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that everything for you sort of started back in 2015, 2016 with something called the Work Hub.
Yes.
Oh,
good Lord.
dude, the Work Hub.
What was that?
I love the Work Hub.
So that was some of the most stressful times of my life. So I've always kind of had this idea of having a space. So I've always wanted to have a creative playground for people, like-minded people to come and just feel at home. And we kind of have it now. Like the space is getting to a point, and we're still striving for more. Like I'm looking now for investors, and we actually want to look at buying a place and having a building and having multiple spaces, and then also gear available for rental. We're looking at partnering up. Like I can't say too much on it, but yeah, that's the end goal. Whether that happens in the next 5 years, whether it happens in the next 30 years, I'm not putting a rush on it, because I've already been so blessed in what I've managed to create. And the people, I have to like hats off to everyone, friends and family, along the way. Like I could not have done it without them. Jono, PSE, who you actually, I think, might know, was a huge help to me, my family as well. But yeah, so it all started at the Work Hub. The Work Hub was our first studio space on Woodlands Road. I think we were there for like 3 years, and we used to do these like lavish parties and rent out. So it was like a creative. We had a fashion designer, myself, photographer, Elu Iboka, who was So he did audio and song production in the back. And yeah, you know, it was different people every month. Like guys would come in and rent hot desks. We had some designers, artists, like all walks of life. And then on the weekends, we would rent it out to guys and do parties, and then like, you know, charge entrance at the door, and then make cash. And then that would also just help us pay rent. But literally, I remember one event, I think we had about 500 people on a Saturday night. Literally, like the floor was shaking, and I'm just standing there waiting for the cops to come raid us and be like, yo, this is too many people. This is a safety hazard. Like very, very undercover. Like we did not have the right permits, but it was fun. And like I was 20 and I didn't give a fuck. And it was enjoyable. But I very soon realized, okay, this is not going to work in the long run. And we first of all need a bigger space, and I need something with more light. And then we
it was dark in there.
Yeah, it was freaking dark in there. It was dark. It was dingy. It was $7,500 a month. It was nothing.
Good for your club environment.
Yeah. But that's where it all started. I learned. Listen, I made a lot of mistakes, but I also learned a lot, and I think that's important. It's just like, taking it day by day, and no, man. But and now we're actually very close. We're like one road over.
That's right next.
Right next to us. So we went there, and then we were at another place for a bit. Like literally, it felt like we were in a storage unit, and now we on Raven Craig Road and the studio. So there was a time where we were also with NAB, Nathan Eels, and we were there for like, I think another 3 years in that little section. And that's actually where it became more focused on the studio, because we had the curve put in, and
did you build that full wall?
No. We've always had guys.
Okay.
I've built 3 studio curves, and it's been a ball like every single time. There's not a lot of people in South Africa, unfortunately, that do know how to build a studio curve. They might think they do, but it's a lot trickier than. We're actually resurfacing our studio now, because we had some water damage last season in winter, and we had some water creep in. So now we have to redo our whole curve. So that's going to be fun. And shame, our space downstairs had a burst pipe, and we had it flooded. So we've literally also redone downstairs. The guys at Sweet Spot just did the curve again, because we had a pipe burst, and I had about two knuckles. Luckily, like our building manager caught onto it on Monday morning at like 5 a.m. One of the security guys was like, listen, there's a river coming out of the studio, and I live one road down from the space. So I got a call at 5 o'clock in the morning saying, Aiden, there's a river coming out. Can you go check what's happening? Ran in, opened up, and literally like it was a fountain coming out one of the pipes.
Then? Like what? Like you can just kind of watch it and be like, yes, there's a river coming out.
Like we had to. Yeah, it was a fuck up. Like we had to.
City has to do it.
Literally go and get all the water out, but what you can do is a natural disaster. Thank God for insurance, and thank God we found it so early, because if it wasn't for that 5 o'clock, if it went for another 2 hours, there would have been another like 2 inches of water. Yeah. Well, but that's life. Shit happens. You got to kind of plan for the worst sometimes.
I just get to be lucky anytime I use any studio space and just walk in, fantastic, and use this nicely. But the actual maintenance of a sort of space I imagine is quite an undertaking.
It is, and the time. People don't realize the amount of time it takes.
Is most of the time just repainting
the curve. Yeah, man. I love it though. So I mean, obviously now we've got teams. So I've got some guys that help on the space, but it is kind of nice, like having a task to do, because it takes about half an hour to 45 minutes depending on how focused you are. But having a like monotonous task that just takes time and not that much focus, it's kind of nice, because I'll slam a podcast on that I've been wanting to listen to, or some kind of book on Audible, and then actually have a 45-minute where I'm listening intently, because I'm focusing more on the book, and it's just like a repeat. Like all you're doing is this for 45 minutes and a bit of work.
Doing work and meditating at the same time.
So that's the one I think it's definitely brought me some inner peace, having having a task like that to do consistently, because we're doing it I'm doing it like twice a week sometimes if I'm not employing someone to do it. So yeah, there's
Hate the smell of paint.
Man,
Hate the smell of paint.
it's crazy. We go through about 40 liters of white paint.
You just have a storeroom full of it.
Basically, yeah, man, it's wild. But I'm hoping now, once we resurface, it's going to be a bit less crazy, the repaint situation, because it's going to be a lot smoother. But yeah, it's just, I'm not even angry about it, because it shows us the wear and tear over the last because we've now on Ravencraig Road, the new studio space, we've been there 3.5 years. So yeah, it's quite, I worked it out, and this is a while ago, but I have put on about 320 layers of paint onto that curve.
Wow. That builds up like an actual mountain.
Yeah. I actually have a TikTok where I have a little chunk of
do you
paint.
ever have to scratch? Sorry, I'm getting really nerdy about paint here, but do you ever have to scratch it off, or is it just kind of constantly layering on?
So now when we resurface, we'll sand down, and then we basically will rip up the floor and then resurface. It's the easiest way to do it. Done 3 studios. I mean, I know some guys that actually just clean they mop and clean the curve and do it that way. But I find for a space as big as ours, the fastest, cheapest, easiest way to reset for the next client coming in is to repaint, because it's just boom, slap, 1 layer on, and then you're good to go.
Yeah. Just over all the dirt.
I know there's many ways, to cook an egg, but for me, that I found that was
experience, bro.
Yeah. I know there's some big spaces in the States that do a pressure wash, and some guys are using specific material that you don't actually need to clean as often, like a gloss kind of epoxy floor. But then you get a bit of a gloss. Not that it's bad, having a bit of a gloss finish is actually quite nice for stills, especially e-com work. But yeah, it's crazy now with the way technology is going. You can do some cool things. But yeah, for us, it's just, and having the daylight also, especially in summer, we get slammed by the sun. Having natural light coming in every single morning.
You went from no light to having too much light.
Yeah. I mean, I think guys know. I mean, if you look at our Instagram, you can see the light that we have in the morning. That's why we're so popular as well.
You get some of the most gorgeous morning light.
It's epic.
I imagine it's probably nicer in winter.
When the sun's out. So now it's not 6 o'clock in the morning when the sunrise is only at 8 o'clock now. So it's not early. You don't have to come in at 6 to get those rays. And we have it for about 2 hours in the morning. So from 8 till 10:30, you've got those rays hitting the curve. So it's not as early a morning, But yeah, I love it, man. We recently shot a little time lapse of the full morning in our space, and it's quite cool to see how the sun just.
At least you know what time you want to get that light. So
Yeah,
you can just scroll across. That was 8 o'clock. Okay.
8 o'clock is the beginning. Yeah, man.
Last time I came past, you were busy with all the construction of all your sound panels to layer up on the roof there as well. I think you've now installed that and everything.
We have, yeah. So that was quite a pricey endeavor, but so worth it. It's just dampened the sound so nice, especially now with the Rode podcast mics and the lapels. It is sounding amazing, and all the spaces are sound treated, which is quite nice. Not soundproof.
You kind of miss the echo in there, or
so we still on the other side of the room. You still have a bit of an echo. Okay. So I always say clap here and then go clap there, and then tell me what you like better. I know it's made a huge difference, and it's so nice to offer audio to people. And we've actually built some panels, so we've even done some song recordings, which is quite cool. Yeah, we've had guys do young guys trying to put some tracks down. I was like, well, you can use the space. I mean, it's a photographic studio, but if you want to record, you can now. So it's cool.
I think that's also commendable to you, bro, because when you first started with the studio and stuff, it was also just about getting people in and getting to know the space. And I mean, you helped me along. I mean, I had a job in Dubai and I didn't have any studio work to show them, but they were like, we need studio shots to see what you can do. I phoned up Aiden. I'm like, dude, can I use lights? How much do you want? And he's like, no, just come. Just come.
That's always been our
shoot
mentality.
it.
We tried to keep our rates affordable for everyone.
Yeah.
And I'm at a place now where it's like, I mean, it's been great. It's really, you know, because we have been so popular, we've had to obviously take our rates up, but I think majority of the people have seen, you know, what we offer, and I'm always kind of there to give a bit of a helping hand. So the return of, you know, we've always had guys coming back, which is great. And that's exactly what we want. We want, the whole reason we started was, I mean, I remember when I was still in office, you know, working and trying to produce some shoots and then looking at what the rentals were for spaces and being like, how am I ever going to be able to afford to do a production? I saw the market and I was like, there needs to be a better way. And that's kind of where it started. And I always wanted to have my own space and just how, as you say, like, you know, creatives come and just know that they're sorted. Because I know the struggle of like trying, you know, wearing the 1,000 hats that we do as videographers, photographers, producers, whatever facet we're in. It's like we are all doing the job of 3 people now. It's become the norm because technology has advanced so quickly. You look 20 years ago, you on a set, you know, you had your focus puller, you had your DIT, you had your lighting gaffer, you had 2 people under your lighting gaffer, you had a full team on set. And nowadays guys are like, okay, can you do this, this, and this?
Guerrilla crews, you know.
Yeah.
The DIT is the filmer as well, and then, you know, the lighting guy is the gaffer and the grip and this and that.
It's I mean, I understand it because also budgets nowadays of not what they used to, and especially in South Africa. I mean, not, you know, there's a lot of international work coming in, and it's great, and there's some big productions happening. I've got some cool things on the cards coming in, which is exciting. But
You always do, bro.
what's that?
You always do.
We're lucky, you know. You gotta just keep that energy.
Exactly.
Yeah. But it is harder. It's been harder waking up that hour earlier, right? I've been bad. I've been sleeping in like that extra hour, man. Fuck, it's too cold.
I mean, so going into like also things like in the wedding industry and stuff, would you prefer having like a smaller crew, or would you have like a bigger crew to capture everything? Or would you be like more select about like the shots you would have, like being like a single man? Or
so mostly there'll be like a second shooter. I'll have someone shooting with me, but like I'll do all the sound, lighting, and like a cam,
which is like wild to some people. People are like, how do you
Mm.
know how to do this? It's like, you know.
But you know, you literally could not have like individual people doing that because you'll have this whole crew there, and it'll make it will just feel like a production. Couples don't want that. Actually, that's the biggest thing. They all say we don't want to feel like we on a movie set.
It's a fine line between expecting sort of like a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a thing.
Multiple angles of the kiss,
exactly.
you know,
Very
the
good
whole
points,
shebang.
I think you know, so you'll find there's some people that might want that. I've actually shot weddings.
Some of them want it to be a spectacle.
Some want a spectacle.
I once produced a wedding, and we had 8.
A wedding.
Well, we produced the content for a wedding.
What's the next
and
album?
they were like, we want it to feel like paparazzi as we walk in.
They want that
so we had 8 photographers shooting, but not actually shooting. They were just as they walk past. So as they were walking into the cathedral and then also getting back and the whole thing, they had that paparazzi feel. It was why I mean the budgets were insane, but it was cool to see. They're like, we want to feel famous, like we want to be. Yeah. And I was sick. I mean, and we made them feel that way. So
I take that back. There are some that actually want that. Yeah. No, there's the.
I feel like every wedding is kind of like that, and regardless though, because the moment anyone walks in, just every single guest, just iPhone up above their heads, and everyone is just videoing everything.
Like, I was actually, Gustav, I was going to ask you, like, what do you do when they're freaking, you know, stepmom or like everyone has their phones out.
The Tony gets in the aisle, all the time.
That is a pain. So luckily, almost every celebrant nowadays will like say ahead of time, okay, nobody take the phone out for the aisle walk. people will literally still do that.
Yeah.
You'll have like four phones like in the aisle doing this.
There's always that aunt.
You
who's
just
very sneaky.
yes, yeah. And there's
I've seen guys actually, a lot of people are now asking people to hand their phones in and actually taking that away and be like, listen, there are professionals that we are paying a fortune for to do this. So please just be in the moment.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
And a lot of festivals are now doing it. They're saying no phones.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of guys are like, just come and be here and be in the moment. There are crews of guys shooting. There's
How
going to
do
be lots
festivals
of
kind
content.
of? Is it a case of just trying to get everyone to buy into that mentality, or how would you ever actually enforce it?
So the one way is putting stickers on guys' phones so they can't actually shoot, and then another one is saying, okay, cool, you're not allowed to bring a cell phone into the venue. But obviously that comes with the whole, because now everyone's cards are on their phones and people are paying. I mean, I freaking can tap my watch now to pay. It's crazy. But I know a lot of the clubs will be like, you just can't. And if you do even take your phone out, then you get kicked out. So there's consequences to being a puss.
I want to circle back to a point you guys raised earlier regarding pricing. And I was because I've been, my opinion's very mixed on it now because I've been chatting to a few different creators about it, and there's some fairly strong opinions on it. And it's interesting from the actual like studio space perspective about pricing differently for people. Like if Coca-Cola comes in versus if, someone just starting out, do you charge them the same sort of amount? And both in the space sort of sense, but more as a general freelance creative in the video side of things or in the photo side of things. I'm going to ask kind of everyone this, but how do you guys feel about charging differently or charging the same versus relative to who the actual client is? Like if you have, Brad Pitt come to you for another wedding.
Another 19, 20-year-old.
Do you charge that differently to someone who just contacts you kind of out of the blue? How do you feel about that, Gustav?
Okay, so that's such an interesting question.
I'm starting with you. So get your unbiased opinion.
It's a fine line to walk as well.
It is. And listen, I'm going to be careful what I say if this comes out because. But so okay, I want to give like an analogy, which I'm going to try and keep his details as private as possible. But someone that I know was asked to do a wedding, and I'm not going to say the location either, but he asked a photographer for advice on how to charge for this wedding, and she said, if you don't charge 20,000 euros, he will not book the wedding. And this was well ahead of his normal, it was substantially more than he would normally charge.
It's quite a nice budget.
Yeah. And
I like that foreign currency.
Yeah, dude, I tell you what, and he charged 20,000 euros, and they booked him immediately. There was no questions asked. But if you come in at his normal, let's say 5 to 7 for a big destination wedding, they would have said no. So there's that example where sometimes people want you to charge a certain amount, and then I think what he did was maybe just offer more. So what I've been told, and this is what I've kind of done as well, where if it's a big budget client, I'll say I'll have 2 extra shooters. So it'll be me and 2 extra guys on the ground, and then I'll have someone dedicated just to drone. So just doing drone the whole day. That's kind of like just adding a lot more value, and then you kind of like add a longer film. But it's still a tricky one because if Brad Pitt came to me, all of those would still not add up to what he's capable of paying. So then I'd have to get like the best wedding filmmaker in the world to kind of be my B-cam or something.
100%.
So you just have to add like
bring in the big guns,
the biggest guns in the industry kind of thing. Like you're shooting with like the biggest cameras, the biggest rigs. You have to. I wouldn't feel right charging like. I don't know. It's a kind of moral thing as well. If I'm just delivering exactly the same thing, now to quadruple or 10x my normal rate. Yeah.
But some people have more money than sense. A lot of the time,
Yeah.
people think that I will get what I deserve if I pay more money, and that inclines them to say like you can't mess up, and they know that hiring you, they know that you're not going to mess up, and that you're going to go in there and you're going to give it your all as well. And I think that's what people think. Like, you can go in cheap. Like, people can come to me sometimes and be like, hey, I really need you to just help me with something. Like, and I'll be like, okay, cool. I'll charge you like this small amount. But like a lot of the time people will come in and be like, hey, just by the way, I'm not supposed to tell you, but this is the clients. And I'll be like, well, I know that there's a budget. I've kind of worked enough to know that this is the minimum I can charge, and this is the maximum where it becomes like a little bit, don't do that. So I'll find like a sweet spot and then I'll charge that. And normally that also gets the client, because if you charge too little, you don't get them because
Price is
they
an
don't think that
indicator,
you're gonna give them what they want. So I think it's a fine line to walk, including with like the wedding industry, is because you're kind of judging this off people and kind of how much they are earning, and kind of like what you get from a feel and a conversation with someone over like a company where, you know, like, hey, listen, I can see your earnings online, you know. It's
well, like two parts, because we've got obviously the studios. So we've got commercial rates and then like day-to-day rates. And then photography is a bit different. I've got the same. I've got my commercial packages, and then so what I've done, I've got packages available. So like for test shoots, anything, you know, headshots, I have kind of lumped all-inclusive rate together, just so it's easy. So for me, you know, like, listen, you can pick. So this is the time, and this is the rate. And then they can say, okay, cool. If we need an hour, then this is the price. If we need 2 hours, this is the price. And I'm always adjusting, always tweaking those, because then it also depends on season. And, you know, now things are a bit quiet and people aren't as busy. So yeah, you kind of, I've done this long enough now that I can also see from, you know, the conversation that I'm having with a client, what they're playing with and what they're busy with. And I definitely, like, if they've got more money to play and I can put more toys on and it makes my life easier, then I'm going to. Yeah, it is. I think it's a tricky thing. I think all creatives deal with it. You got to kind of just suss it out, and you get better at it the more you do it. But just finding also like a great way of invoicing and having all your stuff, you know, just all the things compound. So if it's saving you time, do it. You know, I'm very much about these days anything that makes my life easier and takes admin off my plate. If I have to spend a lot of money to do it, I'm going to do it.
And that's there's also the opposite end, where if somebody comes to me, so someone recently came to me and was the last minute, oh, can you shoot this wedding tomorrow? And it was
you charge double.
That's what they say, right? But I gave my rates and they said, oh, they can only afford half of this. And then 5 minutes later, they went with somebody who was charging half of what I was charging. And then I said, I would have actually done it for half, but I would have just offered slightly less. Yeah. But then this is almost, I could also think in my head, oh, this is almost being like wrong to my couples who have paid the full amount.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
You can also
and had that time to plan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but in my head, I'm thinking, well, it's slow season. I don't mind doing things for a little bit less. So
I've lost many a job to that, but you can't be, you know what? So then you think, remember how much work it is on your plate.
No,
you're shooting yourself in the foot.
It is.
Another thing comes in, and you've already given your time.
That's why, only because it was like a last minute, I was considering going like less. But I agree. You don't want to.
But you also want to feel wanted. You want someone to come to you like 4 months before and be like, "We want you, and this is it," and not like, "Oh, dude, sorry, the guy just gave up."
I don't know what it is. Cape Town mentality. People are so lastminute.com. I don't know if you guys also experienced that. Like, we have this whole thing. So our terms and conditions are very very solid. And we listen, we could have put, like, if someone cancels on the day, we could have put another shoot in on that day. I literally had a day recently where we had 3 bookings and all 3 bookings cancelled on the day. So we basically had a free day open because guys didn't have their shit together. And I'm sorry, but like, you know, it's not my job to make sure your production runs on time and is smooth. It's just blows my mind. The amount of thank God for deposits, but the amount of time people have just wasted their own money, not being organized. 100%. It blows my mind.
I mean, that's also an interesting point, because like I was saying to Matt, that is what I make my money off of, is because I am the guy that puts out the fires. That's like my job. Is because people will call me and be like, this is going to be a shit show of a set and we can see it, and we need someone there that can like kind of knows what's going on between all the different like roles and stuff. Yeah. And they'll be like, can you do it? And they'll be like, when is it? They'll be like, oh, tomorrow. Or like, oh, this evening.
Oh, props to you, man.
Or like 2 hours.
No, I've had those jobs.
I'm suddenly like, oh, no. But the thing is, like I said, you put yourself in the experience and you understand it, and then you get better.
I think also I think we're both ADD, like, we thrive in the chaos. Yeah. Like, I'm way more comfortable behind a wheel going 200 than 60. Yeah. It is. It's the way our brain works.
Mind things. Yeah. So when you have too much time, your mind sits there and you're like... What else should I do?
I love a good chaotic set. Sometimes it's highly entertaining.
I love it the same, man. I was actually I was shooting my cousin's wedding in Spain last year, and it was like my biggest dream to shoot a cousin's wedding in the most beautiful venue.
Yeah.
And this was so stressful. I mean, you guys have probably done a bit of video, but maybe you can imagine. But like, so as I was my Ronin decided that it needed to be. Oh, I hadn't used it yet because I'd got a new Ronin and it needed to still be updated.
Oh God!
So the ceremony, firmware update, yeah. And it wouldn't operate without it. So like the ceremony was like literally 90 seconds away from happening. Like the plan is like rushing everyone in, getting the seats and everything. And the
did you go handheld? What did you do?
And also you need internet to update. Yeah. So it was so hectic. So and this thing was like remote in the mountains. There was like barely any internet. And I quickly ran to the one coordinator and I said, please, can you give the thing? And I'm watching the seconds go like 60 seconds. And this thing I need to connect to the internet. I need to get the firmware updates and the things start going. They're not going to wait for me. They don't care that it's my cousin's wedding. They don't care. And literally like 10 seconds to remaining, like I had this thing like up and running and I fucking started running.
You probably got the best shots after that, bro.
Yeah, but also I wasn't with any banners, just like, fuck, I need to get this
thing going. Let's go,
The
bro.
bride's walking down like, why is this videographer sweating so much?
Yeah, okay, but I can totally agree with that, man. It was such a rush, like the thrill of like just things happening like last minute. But it just feels good. Like all these things happening and you have to balance them.
I'm fucking every day is something new in the studios and I love it. Like it keeps me young, it keeps me entertained, it keeps me happy. Like just every day is someone new and something new to entertain me. And like it does, like listeners, it is a lot of work and I find myself now working a lot in the evenings on my personal stuff because I feel like I'm like on board with like I'm on site, with the studios now, but I know that and I don't mind it. But yeah, it is good to realize, we are only human and we do all need, like you were saying earlier about how many movies you watch. Like for me, like that's your downtime. That's your release. I mean, for me, like I love playing video games and I love gaming with some friends. And
I would do that if I had a console.
No, don't do it. Don't buy one. I just got Harry Potter Legacy and I'm like, I'm loving it, bro. Those winter days, man. Put the heat
20
on.
hours later, you don't even know where you are.
No, I'm lucky. Like I've got so many edits on my plate now. I've just been watching Zoe play, but it's nice to have a distraction. It's nice to also look forward to something, in the evening. And you got to take that rest or you burn out. Like the beginning of this week, I had a bit of a burnout where I was just took on too much. I was like, okay, cool. Luckily, I had a more chilled week this week and that shoot didn't end up happening because of the weather. But you got to, I think creatives, I'm sure you're the same, Matt, we like to just say yes to everything we can and then we suffer the consequences.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't even pay well. I'm just like, I just got something to do. I've been sitting around the whole week, doing one big job a month, and that's how I do things. And then someone's like, hey, can you do this? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And then you realize you like start, that knocks onto another day and then another day. Yeah. And then you kind of haven't like eased your shoulders and your teeth.
Well, that's why I've been saying to everyone, like, winter now, a lot of guys are stressing. A lot of the creators are like, oh, it's quite quiet. And I'm like, guys, just enjoy the time while you can because season's going to be coming and hitting you very soon. Yeah, exactly. And you're going to be getting no sleep again. Yeah.
And then all everyone talks about is the backlog in summer. And like this is the one chance not to complain about the backlog.
Exactly. You can actually get in front of the backlog.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm getting there very quickly. Like, it's nice.
Yeah, almost there as well. Yeah. Close.
Season is such an interesting phrase that sort of popped up as I figured out how cameras sort of worked, and it's something I'd never even considered outside of everything, how sort of seasonal everything is. And what's been really weird for me is that it doesn't seem like it's like it seems like everything follows that sort of seasonal patterns, weddings, and a lot of the corporate sort of things as well. It's all very sort of summer, spring sort of orientated, and then it kind of slows down sort of into the winter months. What kind of has been, because all of you guys are very now experienced in your relative sort of niches, what's been your sort of experience in navigating those sort of quieter sort of moments and making sure that you don't overwhelm yourselves when it's that super busy months, but still have enough sort of wiggle room to play around with in those quieter months?
Go for it.
Okay. So luckily weddings you can do like destination weddings. So that's what I tried to do in like the summers.
Because you can pop off to Europe.
Yeah,
I see. Aren't you heading to Europe soon?
Yeah.
See, this is what I was going to say as
Yeah.
well. I was like, you just got to be that guy who goes summer to summer.
It's
you
great,
know,
yeah.
south to north, do their thing.
Yeah.
Because you'll always just be busy and you're earning euros. And
100%, yeah. And I must say, like, it's not as easy as one would hope. I mean, it's like you've got to kind of make a relationship with a planner or photographer. Those are your best friends in terms of getting those weddings. I've also put out like ads for like Spain weddings, for example, and I think a couple of those, one of them might have led to a booking, but yeah, so this year I've got one in Switzerland, which is cool. Very excited about that. Yeah, I've never been there. Yeah, it's gonna be sick. That was a photographer's referral, so it's super powerful, man. Like, like it's amazing. Like, because they're the first ones booked, them and the venues, and the planners, those three.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How important are those sort of industry-related partners for you in the wedding industry in particular?
Oh, man, it's like gold, eh? Jeez, it's incredible. Yeah, it's like because I mean I still do paid ads and stuff, like a little bit more now than I used to, but planners, I'd say number one. Venue don't really refer, they do, but it's mostly, I'd say planner, and then I would say photographer. Obviously, like previous couples refer you to their friends that might be arguably the best, because now it's like a friend that's saying, hey, like go with this person, he was great in the day. And but yeah,
I find I mean, I don't know if you, I mean, just from a still, because I'm in the stills world, but I find there's a lot of more female wedding photographers
100%,
than male. I think it's just like the eye for detail.
Yeah.
I mean,
women genuinely, I think they see things differently to us. I mean, like it's like they'll spot things like while I'm on the day, and I just never see that. The eye is crazy. Yeah.
And I think also like a lot of, you know, they've been planning their own weddings.
Yeah.
yes,
too.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
there's something comforting about having someone that kind of fully understands the bride, because the bride is the one that
100%.
stresses the most.
Yeah.
I mean, you always hear the groom's just kind of sitting at home and the bride's doing the table settings.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like, oh yeah. Put Martin next to Greg, you know.
Yeah, those guys, those look good.
watching the football.
That's
like,
100%.
you know, and deservedly so. If she's gonna hire someone that's gonna be someone that understands her most of the time, it's gonna be a female compatriot, and that's easier for the bride. But then the videographer comes in, that's normally a guy for the most part, from what I kind of understand.
It's like
and
90,
then you're the guy with the
90%,
groom, and the groom's like sitting there, you know, can I have a beer?
You know, your top, like if you were to say top 3 or top 2 wedding photographers right now in South Africa.
No, whether I've worked with them or not, just the
Whether you've
ones.
worked with them or not, who's your
Someone you admire, yeah.
Yo, jeez, that is a tough
put
one,
you on
eh?
the spot here.
Yo.
First thing that comes to
Well, I
mind.
mean, even internationally, who are your
Let's get
favorites?
The ones that I like as people are going to.
We can AI it in later. We can change the names.
That's so good. Oh yeah, fuck. Yo, shit. Okay. That is such a good question, eh? Damn. Okay. 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 I can get in trouble saying this.
I can tell you mine.
Okay, tell me. Let me see.
Okay. So Misha.
Okay. Yeah. No, she's great. Yeah, I've worked with her.
She's brilliant.
Yeah.
I'd say she's up there, and then Aya.
Yeah, they work
She's
together a
also-
lot.
yeah, they work
They-
together.
yeah.
So I actually taught Aya. Like,
What?
well, not taught when she was beginning.
Whoa, that's
I
getting
just gave her
clipped.
a lot of-
This motherfucker.
I gave her some advice.
Awesome.
Well, like it's crazy. Like it's so great to see, because I don't fucking gatekeep. Like fuck gatekeeping.
Yeah.
It's the same with the studios. Like if guys come in, I always try like let's make this the best production we can possibly.
I love that
Yeah.
topic. By the way, the gatekeeping. This is huge in weddings, man. Like
Oh, I
that's
know.
such a.
I know.
yo.
It's quite a.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
another one.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah.
but I mean, you should. I do understand it
Yeah.
because you need to pay your bills. But yeah, I always find like why if you've got information, why not share it? And yeah, it is. It's crazy to see how quickly you guys can actually rise to like, do super well if they have that drive and passion, and like props to her because I think she's one of the best now.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, no, and they book some of the biggest weddings. Yeah, Misha and Aya. Yeah. Yeah. No, but the gatekeeping is so interesting. But yeah, did you want to?
Aiden, I want to interrupt there very quickly and then ask, like, how do you find the balance then? Like, because you obviously oversee so many different productions that are happening in your space. And when you say you want to make, don't gatekeep anything and try and make the production as great as it can possibly be, where do you find that line then between stepping in to help, but also not disrupting their own creative process? And
I've had to actually force myself to take a step back and employ someone to be there on certain days, because like there are certain productions that are coming in and I want to be there and I want to facilitate and help, and then there's sometimes I'm like, okay, I need to take some time for myself. So yeah, it's a fine line. It is tricky, and
because you're like so overqualified for I think of so many of the things that are going to be happening in your space, that you can offer so much knowledge to them so quickly. But
well, I'm actually it's funny. I'm doing a workshop on the 10th of August, a lighting and fundamentals of studio photography.
Well, my question's reflecting here. I was going to ask you about that.
So that's happening, and the whole reason I'm doing it is because of this, because I see so many people coming into the spaces, and they, you know, if they just had a little bit more knowledge and information, like they would do so well. And it is hard. Like I've had to actually say, okay, like I'll give this much time, and then I need to focus on what else is going on in my life and my work. And as you say, like otherwise I'm sitting in the evenings doing my personal work, and then I don't really get a day. I don't really get any downtime. So yeah, it's a balance. Like, and I'm lucky now, especially, you know, July textbook is the slowest month for me. So it's been nice to actually take some time off. I strategically planned a lot of test shoots in June. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it now or I'm never going to be able to. And I banged out I think I shot 4 in one day. And we partnered with Blur, Gareth Weber, who's a good mate of mine. And he's helped me, like, he was just like, whatever you freaking want, just take. So he gave me access to like his whole, we had like a 1200, 600, it's like so much toys to play with. There's still setups. I mean, I've got this little folder of like things that I've been wanting to try, and I haven't even scratched the surface yet. So it's just so hard to find the time of like lighting setups. So we're going to be doing a few at the workshop. But yeah, it's tricky. You know, you just got to find that balance.
You've hosted a couple of workshops before.
I have,
as well.
But this is the first 2-day workshop. So first day is the actual learning nitty gritty, retaining information, like bring your notebook and bring your camera, and then we'll get into the actual where you get to shoot. But yeah, we're going through everything, like from the fundamentals, like setting your aperture, ISO, shutter, getting your ambient right into you know, lighting, working with pro photo, working with constant apertures, you know, both reading light and then being able to read a flash so that you can know what the light's looking at, capture one, tethering into capture one, and actually shooting that way because it's the way to shoot. I just, you know, and then the setups we're doing from beauty to e-com to editorial, fashion, and product, like the fundamentals, and then that kind of breaks into all facets of the industry of photography. So it's a great basis of knowledge to have if you're in studio. What you need to, well, you know, what if anything could go wrong, you know how to fix it.
That's absolutely okay. Gustav, you've also had some experience hosting sort of workshops and stuff as well. You recently did
a couple. Yeah, I was interested when you said that, man, because it's such a cool thing to do. Yeah, I mean, I've done like 2 only, but I tried to set up another one, and we just couldn't get enough sign-ups. I think maybe I was charging a bit much, or maybe the marketing missed out, But yeah, man, it's really cool. Like,
how was your experience of the ones that you had?
It was awesome, man. Like the first one was like with a bunch of guys with experience ranging from 1 to 8 years, and everyone was like, "Wow, this is incredible." We're still in touch. We have a WhatsApp group now. We meet up, you know, every now and then.
We need a chat, man, because we should do some more.
Yeah. No, definitely. And then I hosted another one in conjunction with Orm. So we had like at their school there, which is really cool. And that was amazing. I mean, as well.
Jason.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Such a nice guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. Very cool dude. Yeah. So that went really well. I think like the thing behind it, which I really was calling me, was at uni at UCT, like the film production course. It felt like it was quite limiting in the sense of it doesn't really give you a good idea of like work opportunities afterwards. You'll have like industry experts come in, like a documentary filmmaker we had like someone who did like cine and animating and editing and whatever, but it's all very much like film set geared, and it's not like how could you make it as a freelancer or like start your own business kind of thing.
I find so many of those institutions,
They just don't.
they just don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah.
They're cool. How much are we making off of you? What's the bare minimum we can give you?
Yeah.
I think red and yellow are probably the best because they actually help place you afterwards. I know that they help you actually find work and find a job.
Oh, that's really cool.
Whereas,
Or you have to get some experience within an office space in which you kind of
Yeah.
relate to. Yeah.
In the educational workshop things, and both of you obviously have experience structuring your own sort of like courses now, sort of around this. How do you sort of place yourselves in the mindsets of, I know nothing, what are the skills that I actually need to know? Because you guys have years of experience now, and a lot of things I think you might take for granted, that is just common knowledge to you guys, second nature, that anyone starting out is like, I wouldn't even have thought
it's
about.
funny you say that because it's a reminder to yourself a lot of the time. I'm like, oof, like I haven't thought about this in a long time. Because I'm busy putting like a little, coursework together, and it's like, oh shit, like this stuff it's good to scratch up on it. So it's nice in a way to refresh your own memory. But that's the thing. It's like you actually finally get to sit and think about what you've been doing and better ways of doing things. It's crazy how technology is advancing so quickly. Guys, do not shoot the way that we used to shoot. Nowadays, with mirrorless cameras and global shutters, it's crazy. You can't really go wrong. You can, but it's become a lot easier. I think it's opened a lot more doors. I recently actually did a one-on-one because I do one-on-one classes with guys as well, and like shooting with insane clients, like massive clients, and self-taught.
The ease of entry is incredible.
It's wild, but it's just all about who you know.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
I'd agree with that. Like your skill level is actually secondary. It's like your network seems to be a bit more. Yeah. No, I mean that's a good question. I mean, I could relate to that as well. Like you don't really you forget like the things that you kind of that were like, and also like you said, second nature. I think like the things that I actually focused on was more to do with how can you actually make it as a creative, like financially. Because you could just stick along for years. I mean, I've met so many people, video and photo, where they're just charging like similar that they were in the beginning, like, and in 5 years they've barely upped their rates, and like got families, I've got kids and everything. I don't have family, I don't have kids, I don't have a house to pay off, and I can only imagine the financial stress if you're not, and you don't want to be shooting a wedding every weekend if you're a husband or wife or whatever. So it's mainly about like how do you like position yourself like as a brand, as a person, whatever it is, and to charge double or triple because you've just said, I'm going to be in this bracket. So I don't want to be charging the entry level stuff.
Playing on that, I hate to say it, but like you need more than one thing going on in this day and age. It's crazy how it's shit to say, but it is true. Like you need more than one revenue stream coming in. It's just, it's wild. It's astronomical. Inflation is, I don't know the exact figure, but if you're not taking your rates up at least 20% each year, then you're falling behind. Because inflation is just.
I mean, that's why I naturally gravitated towards video straight afterwards, because I was just sitting there and I was like, I'm not making stills never cut it for me. Even and no matter how good I got or how good I thought I was, it just never did it. And then I was like, okay, let's go into video. And I shot on my stills camera, my little 1D, doing videos and stuff. And then I was like, holy shit, people are like taking the money that I'm putting out there, and they're saying, cool, that's perfect. Yeah. And now I'm like, oh damn, so video is the way to go. Yeah. And no one knows that I already shoot video now.
A lot of guys have done I know a lot of photographers that have made that natural progression into video. Because of it is, I do find like that's the thing. And you were saying, who charges more, photographers or videographers for a wedding?
It's actually the one loophole, because photographers in weddings and stuff are probably either charge equally or more than the video guys. Yeah. And that's why I've always been like, damn, I should get into weddings. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And we always bitch because photographers will often rock up, and this is with all respect, but they'll rock up with like a 50mm and shoot the whole wedding.
Yeah, a 50.
Yeah. And there's not all, like a drone control with the cinema
and we've got
camera,
like the stabilizer, the drone, the audio, the lighting, and everything. And it's like we're breaking our backs, and it's like there's often but it's an internal joke. We don't
I must say it is an art form to shoot a wedding. Like hats off to you guys, because it's stressful. High
Thanks.
stress.
And listen, I couldn't do photo. I couldn't do a photo wedding because it's a different. I mean, you shot video and photo wedding.
I've done both. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just wouldn't feel confident doing it. Like I feel like it's actually its own art. I mean,
I
know
don't.
you doing both.
Guys have asked me to do both. I refuse to pick one. And
Yeah.
Pay me for one, and I'll do one.
Yeah, yeah.
I find with like the video side of things, you just have to be exceptionally technically competent, because you got to be able to do the audio and everything. You got to be able to problem solve very, very quickly, but you don't have to be that engaged in the moment. Whereas as a photographer, you only have to do one thing, but you also have to lead everyone around. So everyone's watching you to figure out what's happening. You're the director of the whole day.
You're the director. Yeah. What do you? I mean, if someone were to ask you tomorrow to shoot an event or wedding, and do both video and stills, what would you do? You would. What I do, I bring in someone to shoot next to me. I refuse to do both video and stills on the same day.
I mean, simultaneously would be ridiculous. Yeah.
It's
It
insane.
depends.
now.
It depends
Yeah.
on the thing.
I remember some nights I used to do both, like, which isn't as, it's a club night, but like, it's just at this level I can't. It would kill me.
I agree. Yeah, it literally is soul crushing. Yeah. But I mean, like, I've done it so many times just to kind of prove to myself that I can do it. But if it's like a wedding, I would never mess with someone's like moments. Like,
No, because you have to pick. Okay, do I do I'll walk with video or photo?
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. No, you can't.
The screen grabs of your video. It's just not going to cut.
Like you're shooting a fashion editorial, you like get the shots.
Just mount your GoPro on there.
Yeah.
On your camera.
Yeah. Look, it's perfect. It's wide angle. It's fine. You can see the kiss somewhere in there. Just zoom in. But like with like a fashion editorial or something, you can just like, you get the shots and stuff, everyone's stoked, and then you just take the camera out and you just do a few like track movements.
There's one day we're all just going to be, it's going to be a machine that just follows.
We literally got one over there, dude, doing all the tracks.
Just need some auto tracking on there. And then
love it.
Matt, I want to quiz you a little bit on it, just because it's something that I've never
haven't been good with tests, right? Like I said, comedic timing is shocking.
Your timing is superb, actually. So you definitely talk a lot of nonsense there. So your timing's off. Matt, something that a lot of the times I've spoken to you, you've always been coming back from somewhere overseas, and you've been doing something very cool, missioning across the US, or going to Dubai, or doing whatever, or going to Norway. And you've obviously done quite a bit of work while you've been overseas internationally as well. My experience has been very, very localized. So I've maybe got the blinder goggles on for what the South African experience is. How have you find the difference between working internationally versus kind of working in the local environment?
Dude, so the thing is, I'm always, when I go travel overseas, I'm always a tool to someone else's production. So it's normally like a last minute call. Someone will be like, you got an Italian passport? I'm like, fortunately enough. They're like, what are you doing in 3 days? I'm like, nothing. They're like, what are you doing for the next 2 weeks after that? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know where we going. And then someone's like, oh, we're going overseas. I'm like, yeah, I'm down. I don't care what the pay is. I'll fucking do it for free. If I get to travel and see the world, I'm so in it. That's why.
That's a good mentality to have.
That's why I started this, because it was an outlet to see things that I wouldn't normally see.
And you're lucky that you offer both stills and video, because you're such a package.
Yeah.
Whether it be, I find that often like wearing many hats is so vital. Guys a lot of the time are booking me because they know I'm competent in many different departments. Yeah. And I think it's the same for you.
Yeah. I mean, I can give you like a I'll give you the rundown first, and then I'll give you a story which like completely goes back on whatever I'm going to say now. But I mean, for me, it's people will approach you with, it's normally a big shoot when they want you to go overseas, because it's 30 grand for flight there and back. It's normally through a big agency or production house, or working for like a Fox or ESPN or something like that. Where they have like this, they have this budget where you just like, whatever happens, just do it. Here's the money. We throw money at the problem. Get that extra person you need on the shoot, kind of thing. So kind of how I navigate that is that it's, as much as I make things look cool and like I'm always traveling and stuff, a lot of the time it's just a really long trip that I've been to multiple places that look like I've been kind of traveling. And the thing is, I get so many inquiries, like probably like 3 times a month. Someone will always dangle the carrot of being like, we're going traveling. you know, make sure you've got your passport ready, and it never comes to fruition.
Yeah.
Never,
I've
ever.
had those.
So I'm on standby all the time. So that's why I'm like, you know, you asked me to come on this podcast and be like, oh, you know, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, it could be in Amsterdam for a night job. Could be there, you know, no, not happening, you know. Okay, cool. Then you look like an idiot. But I'll still say it to someone, you know, because like I could be, you know, and my life could change at any point. I could be moving overseas, you know, at the drop of a hat. And you talk about wearing many hats and how do you like kind of navigate through like it's also like different cultures and different ways of working. Like there's different people, the way people work in the US compared to any country in Europe are completely different.
How have you found the differences?
Yeah. So I mean, like, so this is where the story comes in. So
Duolingo.
Duolingo. Me no comprende. You want light high or lower? You know. And I went to America to do this job for. I don't know if I can say, but it was a drinks documentary on alcohol, like whiskeys and stuff, and it was called the World in 6 Glasses. The first day I got there, they were like, "Here's the clapperboard," and I was like, "What the fuck?
Yes,
I don't know what the fuck do I write on this thing? I don't know. I've seen it. I can probably guess, you know." And the first thing I wrote was a world in 6 bottles, and I said, "Take one," and X were like, "You got the name of the production wrong." And I was like, oh, shit. So now like I go into this 2-week pretty much trip across America, like what I thought was going to be the most epic trip of all time, you know. I'm going there, there's a DP, there's a director, there's a producer, and there's a sound guy. And I'm thinking this is going to be great. And then the first day in, get put in one car in front of us, which is the producer and me and the sound guy, and then the director and the main DP are sitting in the car behind us. And I received this long message about literally 3 pages, and they're like, "You're not cut out for the shoot. You're fucking around, and like we need to decide if we're going to get rid of you or not. We're just giving you the heads up.
Yes,
but if you don't pick it up," and here I am, like the only thing I thought I fucked up was the clapperboard, but the standard to them was that those lights should have been up within 10 seconds of me getting into the room.
Yeah.
I should be a machine. I should literally be doing everything without even thinking.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like that. I was like, cool. Like, I mean, we're shooting at 1:30 and we're there 45 minutes early. We're going to just set up and take our time and whatever. Yeah. But they wanted it like instant.
Yeah.
And the DP like landed up like just everything I said, like you just hated me. And for 2 weeks now, you're traveling with a crew of people. And, you know, I'm fine talking about this because it traumatized me, like properly. Like here I am thinking I'm pretty good at what I do. Yeah. And these people are saying like I'm dirt trash.
It's another level overseas. Eh?
And I'm like, fuck. So then like, you know, shit went down on this trip. Like I thought I was going to be having like all the free time. But then wearing multiple hats, they were like, you need to be the DIT. And you need to upload to a server. You need to do the proxies. You need to like make everything labeled and everything. And I'm sitting there like,
pressure's on.
Dude, this is going to take 4 hours to proxy and it's already 8 o'clock at night. And we're starting at 6 a.m. tomorrow. How much like sleep am I going to get? Eventually I went until like, you know, the South African nature in us is like, we just work. We just go, we do it. We don't complain. But it just broke me. And eventually like one morning I just woke up and I was like, I'm fucking not doing this. Like I can't. I was like, until you guys learn to treat me with respect, I broke. I was like, until you treat me like you treat each other, I'm not fucking doing this work because I'm doing shit that you guys aren't doing behind the scenes. You're going and relaxing after a shoot day. Yeah. And I put everyone in their place and everyone was like, okay, cool. Nice. And I was like, oh, shit.
To touch on that, like the egos that I've seen on sets, like especially the bigger shoots. Yeah. It blows my mind. Luckily, South Africa, we're not as... Because everyone knows each other and you can't really, like, it's a small pond.
Yeah, because it'll come back to bite you.
Yeah, I can. I've had guys that you get kicked out of the studios because they weren't team players and they were fucking around and on their phones and just bringing problems, not solutions. Yeah. It is a thing. It's definitely like there's a lot of guys that have this massive chip on their shoulder and this big ego. And they think they're the fucking shit.
Because it's a big thing for them as well. Like, so they're like, you're fucking my thing up, you know?
Yeah, I've never had that mentality. Like, I don't mind. Like, I will pick up a broom and go and sweep if something drops.
Yeah.
Like, let's get
Me
this
too.
done.
100%.
Let's do this the best way possible. Let's make it look the fucking best possible. Have the best possible outcome in the shortest amount of time, so we can all go home and enjoy.
And that's what I thought I was doing. I was like so stoked.
It's tricky. It is tricky though. I've been on sets like that where people have bit me and I've had to like be a bit humbled and pull up my socks. But yeah, props to you, man, for sticking it out and actually, you know, putting the head down and grafting, because it's, especially to receive something like that, like, it's disheartening.
Yeah.
But it happens to everyone. So yeah, hats off to you, man.
Thanks, bro. But yeah, that's where it comes in why I'm like such a firm believer in experience, because now if someone comes up to me and goes, hey, like, I probably lost the trust of the person that hired me for that shoot because of what was said from one person without getting my side of the story.
Yeah. But look at what you learned as well.
But then if someone ever comes up to me and says, we need to shoot a documentary, it's a small crew, we're going to the middle of fucking Borneo or the Amazon, I'll be like, yeah, sure, I got it. Like,
I can handle anything.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. I was going to say what I'm going to say now. Also, you were speaking earlier about that, your cousin's wedding. And saying you were, you know, if you don't make those mistakes, then you don't learn from them, and then it won't happen again. So you have to actually, like, as a creative, you have to put yourself into the chaos. You have to throw yourself into that deep end. And a lot of the time, learn as you go and make those dumb mistakes, but don't hold it against yourself and don't like hide in your shadow and be like, oh, I'm never going to do this again, because you have to make those mistakes in order to be better. Yeah. It's just the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah,
and like,
100%.
It is.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone, because it's fucking
Yeah.
high stress.
And it feels like there's only so many mistakes you can make at a wedding because like if you miss, like, let's say 2 weddings in a row, you miss the bride's aisle walk or the first kiss, it's like the word's gonna spread. I mean, I've missed one bride's aisle walk because it was a super dark chapel, and I thought I'd hit record before she was walking down, and as she arrived at the front to greet the groom, I looked down and I was like gonna hit stop record, but I was like, I hit it and it was like start record.
I know.
And my heart just sunk. And
I feel like that every
no.
videographer has had that moment, and then be like, oh fuck.
Yes, it was
1.5 hour podcast. Like,
Matt, are we recording?
So I've set up most of the screens so I can kind of see that everything is sort of going, but like you never
never know.
Yeah, the focus has been on this thing the whole time. It's missed me.
I think it's good. It's good to take that also approach of like don't be disheartened by like your capabilities. Like if you mess up, and that's part of it. You're never going to get better.
That's part of life.
Don't go take a day job in an office that you hate the job because you know one little thing happened to you and you know disheartens you.
I'm seeing a lot of like young production companies. We've got a couple that work in our spaces and I work with, seeing, you know, and it's crazy. It's so awesome to see like every new client or new job that's coming in, they 1% better, 2% better. There's a new piece of gear that they've acquired or bought and a new person to the team. It's so sick. That's growth, you know. It's I've listened to it I think twice now, Atomic Habits. And it's the whole book is literally just about that compound effect of that 1% better each day. And it's so true. It's just, you know, keep the motion and keep trying to improve, and you will.
Yeah, I think if you just have a shit ton of enthusiasm and a lot of humility, then everything's going to go super well.
And check your ego.
All three of you are exceptionally gifted, due to the nature of the industries that you're in, but also just because I think of the talents that you have individually at really connecting to people very, very quickly and making them feel exceptionally comfortable. Skill sets that all three of you definitely have, and I have.
Correction, all four of us.
So what I really want to ask is that something that's just kind of natural to you, or are there any things that you think can help with when you meet a model for the first time on set, or when you meet a wedding couple either on a Zoom call or on the actual day if you've never met them in person? What kind of helps set people at ease, and what do you think helps get the creative process rolling as best as possible?
I think being able to read someone, like I definitely have a way of being able to just like, because I know how I want to feel, I think. Not that I've ever studied psychology, even though like my partner is now a qualified psychologist. And my dad was also, it's so funny, he had a psychology degree and then started his own business, and he also had a big production company. But I think it's reading a room and then seeing, you know, who's not involved and trying to bring them in. I think it also comes from being on set and like and being with a room full of people, and you have a job to do, and you all have to collaborate together and all have to get along to get the job done. So
the most important thing is that, like you said, is someone that's like to the side, making people feel seen.
Yeah.
Even if they're the director or if they're the person that's mopping the floors afterwards, making people feel involved in a team is so much more beneficial to how everyone works together. Because if people have problems, there's so many times on shoots where people don't want to speak up about something. And if someone knows that you're an outlet where their voice can go, that betters everyone around you. And someone will see that camera stand is in shot. No one else will see it. But that assistant won't want to say it. But if you can be that person that makes everyone feel wanted on a set, they'll come up to you and be like, "Hey, there's a camera stand."
The camera stand is actually in
suddenly,
shot.
Suddenly, you know, a whole day's worth of work could have gone out the window, and it would have had to be masked out in every shot. But instead, that person said something, and now suddenly you're
I think so. A lot of the time, I'm a voice for someone else. Like, I was on set recently, and like the stylists were coming to me and asking me questions to ask the director, and like I had to be that bridge because they were a bit scared of him. So yeah, that's the thing. And also I think I just naturally like finding out information about people, and I'm sure you guys are too. I want to get to know someone if I'm working with them. So I naturally always introduce myself, and I'm like, hey, so like, what's your vibe? And that helps. It is tricky though, because there are some people that just don't refuse. Especially, I find the older generation like are so set in their ways. Yeah. And it can be quite tricky.
Normally the director of the shoot.
Yeah, there's some shoots where it's like, you don't speak up, and like that's the thing. You have to suss it out. I've had shoots where I've had to literally just shut my mouth and be there and do my job, and
grit your teeth and just let it happen.
And I was on a long form TV series last year. I'm like, I can't really. No, I can. Natalie Dormer.
I've heard about this.
Yeah. I mean, I've had the freaking best time, but fucking high stress. I mean, she was on Game of Thrones. She's
I remember that character. Yeah, she's great. Yeah.
I was doing stills, but like, it was one of the toughest jobs I've ever been on, because she didn't want the camera pointed at her.
No ways.
So I had to take photos of her the first day on set.
What set was this? Was this commercial or was this?
That just got released now on Showmax. It's called White Lies.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And Showmax, you can stream it.
No way.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
She literally. So I was like, I knew who she was, but I didn't know the vibe at all. Skulk actually gave me the job, and like, I mean, it was a big learning curve, but I had my camera. I was like, cool, like, let's set up a quick setup outside. I'm going to get a nice portrait for you. Super into it. But then she was like, no, leave. Get out the room. She pointed right at me. She was like, you're in my camera line. Get out. And I ran off to the side into like a bush, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to check. I got some nice shots. She walked right up to me. She was like, no, I need you to leave the room, like where we were. So I was like, okay, no, I'm so sorry. And I ran off, and I like just got out the house, and I was like standing outside. I was like, wow, okay, it's going to be like this. Then we shot there was another 51 days. I was on, I think, 18 of the 51 or 19 of the 51 days. I had a photographer friend of mine also take a card out of my camera and format a card, because she was in one of our studios and she was looking for an SD card. I lost a 12-hour day.
Oh my
that
God.
shoot, and I had to do an extra one.
It was
one of those. But also super
Yes.
fun, and
Really?
like I would do it again.
Well, did you like get the story behind that? What was the?
I think it was super high stress.
Super high
and like
stress,
they were like already 2 weeks in, and,
okay.
and like I was new on set, and she didn't know me. And I understand that. Like, listen, she's a freaking A-list actor, so
Yeah.
the stress I can only imagine. But then I had to make sure, like the rest of the time, I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to. And the crew, or like, luckily the crew knew, because it had happened to all of them. It happened I wasn't the first one.
So you were just getting initiated.
I was just getting initiated, and and I put a longer lens on my camera.
That's what I was going to say. It was literally going to be like, did you put like a 200 mil on it to sit in the corner?
There were certain times where like I was there and I couldn't do anything because it was too like. I had to rent in mirrorless cameras and shoot because we couldn't have the shutter going and
it was just silence and you're like.
It was very tricky, and it was long days. I mean, 12-hour days, 10 to 12-hour days. Like so, like during winter, it was cold and raining. But yeah, it was an experience.
I couldn't imagine someone coming to you in the corner just looking at your camera. She comes up to you and everyone's just staring at you.
I forget his name, but the one of the best boys came up to me. He's like, "Don't worry, bro. It's happened to everyone." Like, and he made me feel so much better about it. He was like, "Dude,
you felt seen, bro.
Yeah,
that's it.
She can be quite intense." But,
that's what you need. You don't want to have everyone
honestly,
just stare at you.
Everyone on that set, like we all banded together. I don't know some of the key grips and guys that were on that. They were on it for the 51 days. Without, I think we had 1 or 2 days off. Like the Sundays were off, and some of the public holidays.
Brutal.
But brutal.
Yeah.
By the end of it, I was like, I'm done. Like this is heavy.
I couldn't do movie sets for a living.
I couldn't. I couldn't do long form for my whole. Like I couldn't. Same. My partner Zoe. So she's also in the industry. She's a very talented makeup artist. She did a long form in the crew. So I think it was 2.5 months.
2.5 months in the crew.
In the crew with the climates, like during the
in the dorpie,
Shaba broke her. She
vibes won't even get you through that.
She was like, never again, never long form. It's too much. Yeah, and also Hashem, the production was not well put together, and there was a lot of mistakes. And she was in wardrobe, so it was like, fuck, yeah. Hashem, I don't think it actually got finished. I don't think it ever saw the light of day. I think, shame. It happens though. Yeah.
I want to, just finish the train of thought with the making people feel very comfortable and everything. Gustav, on the wedding front, I'm assuming there's some bridezillas here or there, and
I've had one, just one,
Oh shit!
I mean, I could be discreet and not say the detail, but I could tell from already the Zoom call. So it was a wedding that was handed over to me. And
handed over.
This is probably already giving away too much information. So it was a friend who couldn't do it, and I could tell from the Zoom call already I wasn't gonna. I had a gut feel, but I really, and I can't say why I needed this because I'm gonna give too much information, but I really wanted to get this particular wedding, and just from that 30-minute chat, now I wouldn't do it if it was this big a red flag, but. It's quite a big. It's good. I think it's important to have like a kind of discovery call, I was
going to ask you, like, what advice to others, like in that situation. If you find yourself in that situation, what to do?
If you really need the money and you want the portfolio, then I'd say do it. Like I'd say, but eat shit for that.
Yeah, I think so. For me, like if you find yourself in that situation, my biggest advice: shut up, work hard. Yeah, keep quiet, work hard, put your head down, and then...
Yeah, if you really want it, if you need it and you want it for portfolio, you need the money, do it.
And do your job. Do what you're there to do. That's all you can do.
Exactly. You could have said, I don't want to work on that Natalie Dormus anymore because she's been she's been rude to me or whatever, but I mean, it's a good experience and it's a great. I mean, it sounds like you had a jewel. I mean,
the biggest thing for me, like the amount of cool people I met. Like the crew was epic, and I'd work with them again. The DOP was insane. Like I actually watched the first episode a couple of nights ago, and listen, it's cool. They did flipping well, but I think it is, and I don't. The crazy thing is, I don't blame her because she is at a level. She is an A-list celebrity. The amount of stress that is probably on your shoulders. Like, I know the amount of stress that's on my shoulders when I have, all 3 studios booked and I'm trying to run 3 productions in one day and it gets to you. I actually, had a full burnout last year. like was bedridden for like 2 weeks because I burnt myself out so hard. It's hectic. It's life. It's like, you know, we live in a time where the pressure is real to perform and perform well and you have to, because life is bloody expensive now. As you know, you were saying, you know, you don't have any kids and you have no mortgage and you know, you're living the bachelor life. I'm the same. Like, I mean, it's me and my partner and our cat. We've managed to keep our expenses, you know, reasonable and live below our means. But for a lot of people, that's very tricky.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially when kids come into the picture.
100%, yeah. And yeah, so in terms of the like I think, and actually I had a sales coach as well, and we spoke about this, and he said, I mean, this is from 30 years of experience, but people don't buy your product or service, they're buying you. And if they can buy into you as a person and you as a brand, then everything else is a bonus. I mean, you have to know what you're doing. You can't be like shit at what you're doing, and you have to at least know the bare minimum. But they'll take you over someone who's better if they like you as a person. This is what I mean. I think that's what he told me, and I've actually just seen that in my own experience. So kind of connecting with them on a Zoom call or a phone call is like the most important, I find. Like just email, it feels like a weak way of like the first contact, and it's easy to lose people. I lose a lot of leads like that. I get like, so I try not to do that anymore. Just the email back.
People seeing you in person is so valuable.
That if you can get that's
because also on the phone, it's like I always say, like my girlfriend's also in the film industry, and she's a camera op, and you know, with agencies, they tend to, especially during off season, you tend to not get work, but you're like subscribed to an agency and like you have to go through that agency. And I'm like, sometimes like, don't be afraid to ask for something, and don't send them an email. Don't give them time to respond. Phone the person that you know and be like, hi, I'm going to come in tomorrow. Like I'm going to bring some flowers, some chockies, whatever. And literally don't schmooze, but like just walk in there and be like, I'm genuinely interested in what you guys are doing, what you guys are shooting at the moment. Show your face, be proactive, because people will be like, hey, actually, you know what? We have a shoot next week. Yeah. Actually, we need a camera op. I mean, you're here. Like
front of mind.
Yeah. Whereas like an email, you just letters on the screen. Yeah. You know, they can easily just say, oh, we don't have any space for that. No, sorry, like don't have work for you yet. Yeah. Whereas if you're proactive enough, people see you like just like this setting here. It's like you could be like, oh, I need a videographer or a photographer.
I've landed many a job. I've landed many a job actually just being front of mind to someone. Like, not that I'm more skilled or better than anyone else, because I'm not, but just because I was, you know, someone knew me and it was a word of mouth, and it was like, okay, a recommendation. And that's also why I think I try and be so active on, especially with our studio, it's like so active on social media, because it's like, you know, it's a portal into what's going on, and that's why people are booking with us, because they're seeing other stuff that's coming through the spaces. And it's the same with photography, and you know, and I love like your Instagram, you share such cool moments, and that's why you're so popular. It's because guys are like, I want to be a part of that. And you like what? You are probably the most followed TikToker in.
Yeah, but that's a deep dark past. We don't want to go into
that. This is great, man.
I love
Oh God, I've been there from the beginning.
I love TikTok.
You gotta do it, man.
It's a lot of information. I do. I find I've downloaded this app called Opal, and it freaking like it child locks me from. So I'll give myself 15 minutes in the morning, and then 15 minutes in the evening to have your TikTok or Instagram time, and then I lock myself out.
I need to do that.
Have you seen Opal's ads?
Oh, they're cool.
They're so brilliant, but they make you feel so bad.
That's the point.
They just guilt trip you so much.
You are a machine.
That's enough internet for one day.
They definitely
and it's true
work.
though. It's they made it to be addictive. Yeah. So I don't
so
feel bad
why
about
not
it,
guilt trip people out of being addicted to something? You know.
I do like Opal. I do like what they're trying to do. I think it's very it's needed. You know. Yeah. But their ads are a bit intense.
They work. You're talking about it. So, you know.
Speaking about being present sort of in the moment, Matt, I've got another question for you. And this actually comes from Henry LaRue, who I ran into earlier today. That's his camera sitting there in the slider.
Thanks, Henry.
Shout out to Henry.
And he was saying you guys went on that little boat mission with a whole bunch of different creators and stuff. And he mentioned something to me about you, which I thought just rung so true, because it's exactly the experience I've had with you. you are exceptionally gifted at being exceptionally in the moment while still being a photographer or doing whatever you are at events. Aiden, I know you're the exact same, and Gustav, I haven't worked with you on too many projects, but I know you're also very sort of gifted there. So start off as a big compliment to you, but it's a compliment to all of you. What kind of allows you to still be present at either events or shoots or at weddings or whichever environments you're sort of in, while still, being focused on the execution?
First of all, appreciate you. I mean, for me, it's, I always say for me, because it is strictly like, I've also come from like that background of being kind of growing up with people that are kind of less fortunate in a lot of aspects of like social kind of settings. And I've learned to kind of understand people's emotions and reactions and how they fit into a group. And I think that walking into being present on a shoot and kind of figuring that out is, I take a step back and I will get the photos I need and I'll know when they come because I can see what moment's happening. Say, for example, you're at a wedding and the dance is going on. You just get involved. Just become invisible. Become part of the people, instead of being external from the people. And people will start reacting to you in that way. And, like we went on that boat mission with Henry and everyone. And fortunately enough, Henry's girlfriend, we're friends. We worked on a few shoots together and stuff. And I think for me, it's kind of off the bat of meeting someone, I'm invested in what they have to say. And from then on out, people are a little bit more willing to drop their guard with me. And that helps for me to get shots that I wouldn't normally get because people have more time for me to get the shots that I need. And also, like, sometimes it's that's whole quote from Secret Life of Ultimately that everyone loves now, which is, what was it? Sean Penn's character. It goes, it's the beautiful things don't ask for attention.
Oh yeah, it's this moment's just for me.
Yeah, this moment's just for me.
Sometimes I don't actually like to
take the photo.
This is actually just for me.
Yeah.
I love that.
Ben Stiller's character's sitting there and he goes on this long searching mission across the Himalayas. And he comes across Sean Penn's character who's been trying to find this
they're
whole
looking
time.
for the mountain lion.
And he's like, hey buddy, and he's like, what the fuck? There's a guy behind me, and Ben Stiller's character finally realizes this is the guy he's been looking for, and the snow leopard walks through, and he's like, aren't you going to take it? And he goes, no, sometimes I just like to watch, and that's kind of what I've always lived by. Is like that movie has been very formative in my life. And just put the camera down, just enjoy it. It's fun. You got to live your life as well as, get the shot. But it's more important to kind of know that shot will come around and you can just take it at the end of the energy, But like while it's happening, just get involved, be fun, be proactive, enjoy yourself and be present. And I think that's the most important part. Hopefully I answered your question.
No, that is a beautiful, beautiful answer.
But yeah, just live your life, man. People don't live their life nowadays. Everyone's just picking up their phones, just wants to get everything recorded. Like,
I think adding on to that, like that's the crux. Like if you're not having fun with it, what's the point?
Yeah, it seems cliche.
It does seem cliche, but it's so true. Like you gotta enjoy what you do, or like why are you now? And then going back to what we were saying earlier, like I think we are lucky in it's the chemical composition of our brains that allows us to do what we do, because we thrive in the chaos. Well, I personally thrive there. I think we all do. Like we're all in an industry. You have to be able to.
Peace in the storm.
It gets insane, and it's high stress. It's long hours. It's not easy, and you got to, you just got to find those, find something in that madness to, and we do. Like I have that fascination of documentation, and I think it comes down to obsession. Obsession is the word, and I think we all do. We obsess with things and better ways of doing things.
and that also comes into like this whole thing is I think Henry will know, is that like we got so many like stupid photos that weekend, and it was just like a bunch of like these famous people. There was an OnlyFans girl there that had like 4 million followers. Like we walked in there and like everyone just committed. Also the people around you influence you in the best of ways and the worst of ways. And everyone there was like this mad creative, but everyone just sat down and said, we're just going to have fun. We're going to enjoy it. Sure, people took their phones out and stuff. Yeah. So I started bringing around my little Fuji X100V. It fits into my backpack and my little crossbody, whatever. And I said to myself that this year, I'm just going to make a coffee table book on my life. That's it. Of my whole entire year, I'm just gonna do it from start to finish, document one thing maybe every day, every week, whatever, and then just write stories to myself and like share it with the people that I was there with, you know. So like today I could write a little bio on all of you and just like how you've all come together in my life, even, you know, just meeting you today. And that's an interesting thing because like you forget how much you do in a year, and kind of you also forget that there's all these undocumented moments that you've now documented by being present in the moment, but also just lifting up the camera for a second and just knowing that's the shot and just clicking it. And if you don't get it, don't feel bad for not getting it. Just be stoked. And then you can print it out one day and have it in a book. It can be blurry as fuck, but at least you know in that photo of the washed out, you know, whatever, that was a good time. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely beautiful.
I forgot what question we were.
Doesn't matter. I think that's very near to the perfect sort of ending there on everything. Guys, I just got one more question for all of you. It's more just around kind of what comes next in each of your journeys. Where do you hope to see life going in the next 5, 10, 15, 100 years, whatever you plan to do? What does the future kind of hold?
Can it be quite broad? I mean,
completely broad.
Okay.
Personal ambitions in your content creation journey. What's next in the life of Gustav?
So next, I would say. So I mean, there's always the from the beginning, like 5 years ago, like it's been get like a celebrity wedding, get like a big high-end wedding.
It's like going to happen. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Who's the dream celeb? I know I said Brad Pitt at the beginning.
Yeah. He's not remarried, eh? Maybe he could still be Brad Pitt. Yeah, let's say Brad Pitt.
Leonardo, bro.
What are you talking about?
He's going to have to settle sometime. The next 24-year-old.
Let's get it.
Exactly. Yeah, okay, DiCaprio. I'm going to put it out there. DiCaprio's wedding, yeah.
Done. You heard it here first.
So DiCaprio's wedding, and then I'd say like, so relating to like the workshops as well, but like, I've been building for a while now, but I've just been so bogged down with my own edits, but kind of building a course and like teaching what I'm doing, like online and mentoring, that kind of thing. But beyond weddings, beyond filmmaking completely, actually, is nothing we've spoken about. but this is actually the kind of longer kind of goal and vision is like it's like men's work related. So it's kind of it's got to do with like. How do you condense that? But it's so you know men's work.
No.
Okay.
I love how he looks at you. I was also
is that more kind of like self-improvement for
like
mental,
for men?
Yeah,
for men, exactly.
I've actually looked into. I know a few of the guys that are doing the. There's that one big one. What are they called now? It'll come to me, but that's awesome. Are you looking then at doing a...
Well, so I recently had this super life-changing experience. I did it about 3 months ago. It's called Mankind Project.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Thought you might mention it. Yeah.
That's
who do you know? You know people from there? You met people from there?
Gary.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
So
and then
actually...
Ash Brown used to be involved as well.
Okay, I don't know Ash.
He's in George at the moment.
Okay, so Gary recently, a couple of days ago. Yeah, so it's
I used to gym with him.
No ways.
Yeah. I was actually going to do it this year, but then I had a freaking friend's wedding.
We could have been at the same one.
We could have been at the same
one.
That's
awesome.
Man.
Yeah,
I'm glad that you did, because I want to do it.
It's honestly like life changing. I mean, I couldn't help but bring it up. So that's for me the vision beyond filmmaking, beyond storytelling in that way. It's just kind of the men's work, and the thing that kind of was so powerful about the weekend. So you go there to Hermanus. It happens three times a year. 40 men attend for the first time, and there's 60 men staffing. It's just 100 men. You hand yourself in like on the Friday afternoon, you only get it back on the Sunday, and you just put into this like washing machine of like, and it's not, okay, I'm curious to think what you guys think, imagine, but like I had visions of like crawling under barbed wire and mud, that kind of thing. It's not that at all. It's because that you can go to basic training for, but it's so men. The biggest challenge that men have is actually like first of all acknowledging emotion, expressing it, and not bottling it up. So it's like so generally we experience like turmoil in our lives as men when we don't know how to express emotion, anger, shame, guilt, sadness, and fear. And these are the big, the 5 ones, the big ones.
Yeah.
And just kind of going through that whole process was like, it was like the initiation that I'd always sought, but never knew how to find it. Because, we have certain cultures in South Africa where they do initiations. We don't have them. I mean, it's, like from our cultures. And
that's awesome, man.
dude,
I'm
it was
you
powerful.
said that, because I've been wanting to go, and like I've always found an excuse, although this last one was...
Yeah, it was legit. You had a friend's wedding, yeah.
But... so a good mate of mine, Ash, he's very involved with them, and he highly recommends anyone that is like, everyone should do it.
Yeah, no, literally. There's not a single person who's exempt. It's like, it's a human thing.
That's definitely, as men, we do. We not that we even talk, we just are generally, we bottle our emotions. We don't talk about things. We leave it till the last minute. And it's not fair on our significant others and
100%.
the opposite sex.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, man. That's for me the biggest goal behind it. Just seeing like friends, myself, like family, like making the wrong career decisions, girlfriend, like wife decisions, job decisions, friend decisions, like, all those things would just arguably be resolved. Like, or they would be resolved a lot easier if you had like more connection to self and a deeper brotherhood and community around you. It's a long answer, but yeah.
Brilliant answer. No pressure after that.
No, I mean, so for me, I've been lucky. I've always kind of had a goal in mind, and I think I mentioned earlier. So my end goal, like I want to own a space. I think I want to have full autonomy on wherever we may end up, where I can create and build and just explore. So the end goal is eventually multiple studios, and then also production house and gear rentals. I'm putting it out there to the universe because I've been lucky this far. But then also like I had to realize I love shooting, so I want to be shooting more. And I decided that, and then I started doing it. So now I'm shooting more, doing a lot more tests, and just doing it because I love it, not just because I'm getting paid. So that was the one thing. Slowing down a bit as well, I realized. And luckily now, textbook July, has been quite quiet. So it's been nice to actually just have some time off to put a bit of joy back into life. You forget sometimes when you're so busy and you booked all the time, you're going from this shoot to this edit, to this shoot, to this edit, to actually take a break. So like I did Burn this year. I know you were there. That was super fun. Did feel a bit more like a work camp than a freaking holiday, but it was cool. So yeah, that's I think, is trying to maintain that balance. I'm in a really good rhythm right now. I'm happy at home. Like I love my partner. I'm gymming again, which is great. Like properly, going 5 times a week most weeks, paying off the Apple Watch, but getting the discovery points. But it's a great motivator. Like that's why it's there. I was a bit sick actually during the first half of this week. I just burn out again. Just keeping that motion and that 1% again every day, trying to just improve. Because that's where you find growth in life, is to have that atomic. What is it? Atomic habits. Atomic habits.
Yeah.
Awesome. If there had to be like a one spot, like where the dream studio enterprise would be, or where's the dream location? Yeah.
I mean, I love Woodstock, where we are now. I love Woodstock. It's so central. It's so nice. I mean, we've been looking. I think I'll know it when I see it. And lucky, like I've got some partners now that we've been chatting. And when it comes together, I think it'll be beautiful. But we don't really have anywhere in mind. I'm also looking at maybe doing multiple studios and having something out, more set kind of vibes. Build some stuff.
New studio vibes.
Exactly. But I haven't gotten there yet. It's just crazy what people are asking for. There's such a bubble at the moment with the property. It's
crazy.
Man. But you can't do anything about it. It's out of your hands. So, that's the eventual goal.
Beautiful. No, that vision is incredible.
Okay, my turn, I guess. I don't know. So I had a lot more time to think about it, and damn it, I should have gone first because my brain goes everywhere. I mean, for me, it's kind of comes out of a very different kind of creative outlets, and now just starting like a brand, like a fashion brand. It's what I've always wanted to do since moving to Cape Town. I came here with shorts and slip slops and flat caps, from Stellenbosch and like whatever. And as it's slowly gone on, I've realized like my identity comes from a lot of it comes from like how I present myself and how I look. And it's not a narcissistic thing to say. It's just how I like feel on the day. And I kind of really want to like kind of create something in Cape Town and which is accessible and good quality, and not like a lot of other brands out here which take corners and cut corners and produce something and put the prices up to a mad amount where people can't even buy something. And I think there's a lot of demand for good quality clothes in South Africa, and we never get them. We just get generic fits from H&M and Zara and stuff. And there's a lot of cool local brands that are doing great things. But yeah, I want to make something like that. And then in the terms of the creative field as well, like I want to shoot my own stuff. It's something that I've stopped doing. Like my Instagram used to be popping off all the time, taking photos, doing portraits and stuff. And I'm so reliant on people because I love making fashion stuff and having people involved. And nowadays, like I think we've got to the stage now where people have become professionals in their own right as models and as creatives, and like getting people on board for like a vision that you have is quite hard because now people want to get paid for it, and I completely understand that. And I'm trying to like kind of find the balance of like trying to get brands involved to make projects happen, but at the same time being like proactive enough to go out my way and be like, listen, I've got no budgets, see who's keen, if people can do it and want to do it, like, maybe something will happen, get picked up, get paid for, and then I can pay everyone else, So yeah, kind of just want to shoot my own stuff again. It's kind of been soul drenching, just kind of going out my way to do stuff for brands that don't really like see the same vision as me.
A studio is a studio close for some fashion.
There you go. So yeah, thanks, dude. But yeah, that's kind of where I want to go. It's just not getting caught up in the work life as much as I am. Yeah.
Sublime. Well,
can we ask you the same question?
This is literally what I was going to say, dude.
The whole point of this is that I get to hold people hostage, and I was you
don't know behind these cameras.
I just get to conveniently.
I'm excited to know when the whole season is going to be launched because you've got a bank now. It's so sick.
I've got a whole NAS set up with I think it's at 8.5 terabytes now already. Of just podcast footage. So I'm starting to think like, this is actually quite an undertaking, but I'm very excited about it. So it's been a fun little journey to sort of start.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's so nice having conversations with people that inspire me and that are just doing epic things. So
there's one thing I've always known about you, bro, is that you fucking continuously on it, bro. You've got a vision and you stick by it and you're persistent, and that's what we respect, man. And also you get us on the shows and we get to vibe out and meet each other and meet each other again, after a few years.
You're like the Elon Musk of Cape Town
creator.
That's a very nice compliment.
Yeah. I mean, you put the effort in, bro, and it doesn't go unnoticed. So you need a pat on the back yourself. You sat very quietly throughout this thing.
I'm learning from guys
and it's brilliant.
Stuff,
it's like I couldn't even hold my tongue that long, bro. Like it's good. It's great. You're doing a great thing.
Thank you. Well, it's
where do you see it going? Where do you see the podcast going? What's the goal?
I'm not entirely sure with the whole podcast thing. For me, it's now just a nice excuse to just meet up with people that are like really interesting to me and just have the conversations that like are difficult to have in any case, and ideally showcase the lessons that they've learned that I want to ask them about to everyone else at the same time. So
that's awesome.
Like I want to learn from everyone as I go along, and if I can share that with other people who might have the same viewpoints as me.
You might find that it will naturally get to a place where you're like, oh, whoa, okay, this is where it was going. Because I think, with podcasting, they say, it's like, I forget, I was at a podcast creation like workshop recently at Levitate, that hotel. And they were saying like, you have to go at least like 200 episodes in or something before you even see any kind of you know, but sometimes it happens sooner than that. And I think the quality of content that you are offering and having, it's needed, especially in the South African industry, because no one's really doing it.
Yeah.
So props to you, hats off to you. And
you haven't seen the terrible LUTs I'm going to put over here. It's going to look good. But yeah, I think I promised myself that I was just going to put my head down for like 50 episodes odd, see what happens at the end of it and where we are. Initially, I'd never sort of thought about having groups of people together, but as I'm doing more and more of them, I'm enjoying these sessions like a lot more. And I still really enjoy the one-on-one conversations with like someone who I've got to like ask them about the cool things that they're doing. But like I really like the organic sort of conversations that sort of come up from just putting a bunch of creatives in a space and kind of throwing some stuff at it and seeing what happens.
Each other and everything, but also like, you know, it's good to have one-on-one conversations.
I'm excited to see like already your setup. I'm excited to see, you know, on episode 100.
Yeah, because you're the first one with the slider, hey?
Yeah, the slider.
Oh, upgrade, bro.
I just hope it's recording. But yeah, no, so it's a fun little project, and we'll see where it sort of leads. And it's very nice just kind of throwing creatives together and kind of seeing what happens. But yeah, once again, a big thank you from my side. Thank you guys for joining, for sharing with me, for inspiring me on a daily basis, and for continually pushing the boundaries of what us as South African creatives can do.
Awesome, thanks, man.
Yeah, boys.
And to everyone who joined us and put up with my mumbling, thank you very much. And I keep promising to have like outro sound, and I haven't done it yet. So hopefully there's an outro sound by now. So fade to outro sound.